Hello, I'm Tamsin, and welcome back to English Sound Building, the advanced pronunciation podcast where you do the work to build muscle memory, and master new sounds. As always, remember that successful communication is possible in any one of the thousands of global English accents, and there is no ideal. We're simply here to have fun playing with sound. If you'd find it useful to read as you listen, you can find a script for this podcast on my Patreon page. That's www.patreon.com/EnglishBrickByBrick. The link's in the episode notes. Everything is free on there. Just scroll down on the main page and you'll get to the content. I am a one-person team, writing, recording and editing these podcasts in my free time though. So if you do like what I do and you are able to support me, please do so. And thank you so much to those of you who already do. So this week is the last episode in season 2, and we're going to review the sounds we've looked at so far with some fun tongue twisters and rhymes. We've done some more focused work this season, so the sounds we've looked at have been the consonants f, v and w, sh and j and ch and j, and the two L sounds, and then the vowel sounds o, and oo. As we practice today, I'll remind you of some of the techniques we spoke about at the end of season 1, but please do go back and listen again to that episode, that season 1 recap, if you'd like to hear more about them. So the first one I actually posted as a video bonus after the first few episodes, looking at the w and the o and the sounds, but it also contains j, both within words and in connected speech, and ch, and it's really a perfect summing up of this season. Listen and repeat just once for now, and just be aware that I am reading this with the sound, so you do hear the contrast between the and the o sounds. If a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? If a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? Or we can reverse it. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Well done. And just for contrast, I'll now read it in a more Northern English accent where I don't use that sound, so you can just hear the o sound. Listen and repeat if you want to. If a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And we're going to practice this one again, this time using the singing technique. And this time I'll go back to contrasting those and o sounds. This one matches quite nicely to the tune of Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And as I said last season, I'm not the world's best singer. I'll try my best. I'm sure you will do as well. And you'll probably do a better job than I will. If a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? If a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And the second one is another tongue twister. This one I posted on my Instagram way back in summer 2020. And you may have seen it then if you've been with me a long time. And this one targets the w, v and f sounds really, really nicely. Listen and repeat. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. And we're going to practice the chaining technique with this one on a word-by-word level. First, we'll chain it forwards. Listen and repeat. Wild. Wild vines. Wild vines make. Wild vines make fine. Wild vines make fine vintage. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. Then we'll chain it backwards. Wines. Vintage wines. Fine vintage wines. Make fine vintage wines. Vines make fine vintage wines. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. Good job. We'll try now reading it 3 times. Maybe you'll find that you can do that more easily after doing that chaining technique. Let me know how you get on. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. Wild vines make fine vintage wines. Okay, now let's move on to the 2 short rhymes. Now, things might get a little more tricky here simply because there are more words to remember. So do remember that if you would find that script handy, you can get it on my Patreon page or on the Buzzsprout podcast webpage if you need to. The first rhyme is great for the w, sh, ch, and j sounds, as well as reviewing some of the vowel sounds from season 1. There's a lot going on, so we're going to slow this one right down. We'll read it first line by line. I'll read it first slowly for you to grasp the words. Then I'll read it at a more natural pace and pause for you to repeat just once per line. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. I've washed all the wheels and works. I've washed all the wheels and works. Oh, how it jumps and jerks. Oh, how it jumps and jerks. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. Well done. I'm going to read it again, line by line, at that more natural pace. This time I'd like you to repeat, but I'd like you to repeat silently, just really focusing on your mouth position and the movement between all of those sounds. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. I've washed all the wheels and works. Oh, how it jumps and jerks. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. Well done. We'll read it one more time straight through. If you have the script open, you can try reading with me. Otherwise, you can try to remember as much as you can and repeat afterwards. Just one time. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. I've washed all the wheels and works. Oh, how it jumps and jerks. I wish I hadn't washed this Irish wristwatch. Okay, the last one is great for the and contrast, or just the sound if you don't have the in your accent. I'll read it with the contrast at first. There are a lot of sh sounds in there as well. We're going to slow this one down and then speed it up. First, I'll read it line by line again, once slowly for you to grasp the words, and then once at a more natural pace, pausing for you to repeat each line just once at the beginning. Once I heard a mother utter. Once I heard a mother utter. Good son, go and shut the shutter. Good son, go and shut the shutter. Shutters shut, the good son uttered. Shutters shut, the good son uttered. I can't shut it any shutter. I can't shut it any shutter. Well done. We're now going to read it straight through. The first time I'll read quite slowly. Again, if you have the script open, read along with me. If not, I will pause afterwards. Just try to remember what you can. Once I heard a mother utter, good son, go and shut the shutter. Shutters shut, the good son uttered. I can't shut it any shutter. Well done. We'll now read it at a more natural pace. Again, try and follow along with me. Otherwise, I will pause afterwards. Again, try and remember what you can. Don't worry if you don't get all of it. You're still doing fantastic practice. Once I heard a mother utter, good son, go and shut the shutter. Shutters shut, the good son uttered. I can't shut it any shutter. Well done. And then one more time. This time we're going to go as fast as we can. Once I heard a mother utter, "Good son, go and shut the shutter. Shutter, shut, the good son uttered. I can't shut it any shutter." Well done. And then just for your interest, I'll read it once more, this time without the and contrast. So just using the sound for all of those vowels. Once I heard a mother utter, "Good son, go and shut the shutter. Shutter, shut, the good son uttered. I can't shut it any shutter." Well done. That is the end of this week's workout and indeed the end of this season's workouts. Don't forget to practice them as often as possible to build muscle and muscle memory, speeding the podcasts up or slowing them down as you need to, and accessing those scripts as you need to as well. If you'd like to follow me on social media, don't forget you can come find me on Instagram or Facebook at English Brick by Brick. I'm going to keep the tongue twisters coming over the summer as often as I can. You'll also find me, of course, on Patreon at www.patreon.com/EnglishBrickByBrick. So I'm going to be back in the autumn with season 3. Use the time in between seasons to review everything we've done so far, season 1 and season 2. Practice really, really does make a massive difference if you can be consistent with it. As always, please do get in touch with me as well to let me know how you're getting on and request any sounds you particularly want to work on next season. Enjoy sound building. Have a great summer, those of you who are entering summer right now, and I'll see you soon.